Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and wherever you're watching in the world, welcome along to F1 Esports Series Challengers, where we take you once again to Vietnam on the Hanoi Street Circuit. Only this time, we let loose 16 of the quickest drivers on PC and see how they get on around two challenging circuits for two very different reasons. We've already seen some great action on Xbox and PlayStation over the past couple of days, and now we get to go over to the computer side to see who can come out on top. And of course, my name is Kieran McGinley. Joining me in the commentary box is the fantastic Mr. Justin Sutton. Justin, we've seen two already fantastic days of racing. One more to go before Christmas. I cannot wait.
Yeah, 2 great days, 4 great races. We were robbed a little bit of the ending of the Hanoi race yesterday, but again, those results have been posted on the Formula One Games social media platform, so just go follow them and you can see exactly where everybody finished. But I am really looking forward to this one. The PC guys are not, again, the Xbox guys are the ones that I know the best personally, but PC is certainly my preferred gaming platform. I love to play the racing games on my PC, and we get to have a look at the drivers for today's races.
We do indeed, and there's just 10 of them, and there you can see E1 and E2 is the event they use to get to this stage. So the top 8 from each event that were eligible to be entered into challenges are here with us today. One of those is included Sven Zerner. Now, he might be a familiar name to you, Justin.
Very familiar. In fact, going all the way back to 2017 when all of this got started and when this was all so new back then. But yeah, Sven Zerner made it all the way to the tippy top. I mean, he was battling for the championship that first year with Brendan Lee and the other OGs of the league back then. And yeah, it's great to see him back in. You know, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Each new year is another chance for these guys to be the best of the best. So for all we know, Sven Zerner is about to come in here and put on a masterclass.
Yes, and let's see if he can get that underway. You want to get off to a good start here in challenges, because a good start normally means you get yourself a good run in towards the rest of the event. But there you can see that the other 6 drivers as well in this one that all qualified using that McLaren in the second event, and some big names here. Some of them obviously people will recognize, others they'll be the first time they've ever seen them going in towards challenges. But what we do know is these guys are quick.
Yeah, Jan Fehler, by the way, another very familiar name that anybody who's been watching F1 Esports for a really long time is going to be super familiar with. So that's another one for people to keep their eye on. But yeah, I'm just really excited about this one. I'm sure the drivers are all excited, just like with the other 2 platforms earlier this week. Everybody's just super excited to get going and to try and earn their spot into that pro draft.
Yeah, I'm not surprised as well, because it's going to be one of the tough ones. We've seen in pre-season testing, really, haven't we, Justin, that PC does really get so competitive. Making a mistake, you really don't want to do it whatsoever. I mean, you don't want to do it in any sense, but these guys are so quick and so close together that any mistake could send you all the way down the order, especially in qualifying.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it would be very interesting if we saw any kind of precipitation in Hanoi. We've seen the precipitation in Shanghai, but not in Vietnam yet.
No, we haven't, but here we go again at Vietnam. 5.6 kilometers, plenty of DRS zones, and that heavy braking zone down towards turn 11 has always been an overtaking opportunity. Let's take you round for a lap.
Hi, I'm Alex Albon. I'm a racing driver for Aston Martin Red Bull Racing. I'm going to take you through the track in Vietnam. It's a new track for all of us, so I can only tell you from the simulator. But yeah, let's have a look. Okay, so starting the lap, we're going down to turn 1. A very slow, off-cambered-ish corner. Looks very tricky. Looks hard to find your braking point, and sets it up nicely for turn 2, turn 3. This corner looks very tricky. It feels like you have to find a point at where you want to turn in. It's all blind, being a street track. And then you've got this very quick kink, trying to stay off the walls as much as possible. So going down a long straight now, a good place to overtake. It feels like a slow chicane, a little bit like Monza, I would say. So clipping the curbs, yes or no, we don't know yet until we drive the track for real. So now we're going down a super long straight, even longer than the previous one, around 1.6 kilometers. DRS open as well, so I think this will definitely be the place to overtake during the race. Into, I would say, one of the biggest stops on track. So it's of the year. We're going from huge speed into a first gear corner. Now it comes to the fun part, I would say. Very technical, very mixed. So we go to a 90 right, followed by these really quick flowing corners with the walls each side. I think this will be very, take some time to build up, let's say that. And yeah, going through all the corners now. These right lefts, right, almost like Suzuka, but on the street. So that will be very fun. And then finally going to a slower left-hander, exiting towards the last corner. And it's very committed. Get as close to the walls as you can, make it look good on camera. And yeah, that's enough of Hanoi.
And again, a good show of how tough it is to negotiate these street circuits of Hanoi. We've already seen so far in these previous few races, Justin, that this track is not going to take it easy on you. We throw these drivers into this street circuit, see if they fly or stick to the walls. We've already seen somebody get into the walls going through that flying S section just after turn 13, 2 cars coming together through that wall there. But it's always going to be a little bit of a challenge here when those walls are so close to you.
Yeah, going side by side, that was the big lesson that I think we learned yesterday was you really don't want to be going side by side into 13, 14, 15, that whole section. Really, really dangerous stuff, and we saw exactly what happens there. I don't think people have a lot of experience battling through there, so you know, that just makes things that little bit extra harder. But we're into qualifying now, just under 16 minutes to go for this one qualifying session. Again, for the F1 Esports Series Challengers, we have this one session, so it's not like the Pro Series, which for the 2020 season had Q1, Q2, Q3, which was fantastic. Loved seeing that for the Pro Series. But here for the Challengers, we just want to get right into the racing, don't we, Kieran?
We absolutely do. Nothing's going to stop us at all. A little bit overcast here in Vietnam. 15.5 minutes to go in this session as we see all the drivers making their way out there. And of course, cheer on your favourite driver down there in the chat below. Wherever you're watching, you are welcome along to this one. The final time we get to go round racing here in Vietnam for Challengers before we then move on to, of course, next month as we ride on board with Jan Fehler here as he makes his way in towards 22, then in his way towards turn 23, flying his way through, getting up and close and personal with those right-hand side walls. Braver than me, that's for sure, as we fly away down towards turn 1, heavy braking at the 100-meter board. Bit of a lock-up on that front left-hand tyre, but not much bother there for the Alfa Romeo driver as he now gets up through the gears. And as you see there, that track limit on the outside of turns 2 and 3 is going to be watched heavily, like a hawk, by these stewards, isn't it, Justin?
Yeah, thankfully we didn't see a whole lot of penalties from either of the tracks that we saw featured in the 4 races that we've seen already today, or this week, excuse me. I tell you though, coming out of turn 3 and 4 and into 5, it reminds me so much of Paul Ricard in Sector 1 into Sector 2 just before the DRS straight at Paul Ricard. It reminds me so much of that, the way you're going around that right-hander for so long, and then you have that change of direction right at the exit of it before coming on to that nice long straight where you can keep the pedal floored for the entire time. So yeah, very, very similar to what we see at Paul Ricard. But Jan Fehler in his Alfa Romeo, this is again the banker lap. This is he really just wants to get a time on the board. Jan's going to be one of those drivers that knows all about that, though, as we see a couple of times already coming in mid 132s, a 32.2 actually on the board, and Jan Fehler straight into the pits.
Yeah, so obviously not too happy with that lap is Fehler as he makes his way back in towards the pit lane. There's Josh Edelwood making his way now in through this flying S section, now making our way in towards turn 22. Onwards we go then towards turn 23. He is going to be a driver to watch in Challengers, but now he makes his way towards the line. What's this time going to be? It's a 32.192 from Edelwood, which puts him on the top of the table at this moment in time. Patrick Sipos is there in second place. Ruben Vallejo is in third. Sven Zerner fourth. Pablo Hoglar in fifth place. Nabadovsky in sixth. And then we've got Kevin Balash in seventh place with Thomas Amaro in eighth. And Edelwood deciding he's not going to take that chicane.
Yeah, he's got to get back to the pits as quickly as he can, so he can start thinking about what he wants to do for his next run. He'll have 2 more attempts. He's currently on pole out of the 11 drivers that have set time so far, but it's not by an absolutely massive margin. 4/100ths of a second, 42 thousandths of a second, in fact, between himself and Patrick. So quite close. And then it's not even another 7/100ths down to Ruben Vallejo as well. Sven Zerner as well, also into the 132.3s. So yeah, very competitive times that we're seeing on the board already. A few maybe that aren't so super representative, but again, for these opening runs, just get a time on the board. Make sure you're not sitting at the very bottom of the pile.
Yeah, just make sure, hopefully, you don't sit at the bottom of the pile there. Nicolas Mateo making his way now. Onwards we go towards the right-hander of turn 13, and let's see him try and tackle this flying S section. It's the left-right combo that seems to go on forever, all the way towards the braking zone of turn 22. You can just see there how much driving force is in that wheel alone to try and make it steer around these corners as we now make our way finally towards 22 and onwards towards turn 23. Bit of opposite lock on exit there, not too much of a worry for him. He gets nice up and close and personal with that right-hand side wall. 32.3 from Nicolas Mateo puts him onto the second row of the grid, 4th place to be precise.
Competitive time, definitely a competitive time. He can feel really happy about that, especially because, again, this is a banker, so he probably has more to give. He was just trying to get a time on the board, and he's got that now. He's into 4th position as it stands. And I mean, that's a competitive time even towards the end of the sessions. Again, I hate to harp on this, but it's week 1 of a new season of F1 Esports, so we got to go over this kind of thing for the newbies, anybody who's coming in for the first time. But we are going to see minor differences across the platforms in terms of qualifying times, race times when it comes to how long it takes to complete the entire race, all that kind of stuff. Small things here and there, but again, when we get all of these drivers together for the Pro Series, we always find out that there is really no platform that is stronger than others. We've seen drivers from all 3 platforms have incredible success.
Yeah, we have indeed. And as soon as you get them onto the same platform, that is where you find out who really is out there on top, as Jake Wills now makes his way out there, and he's on an outlap right now, negotiating his way through 22, then onwards towards turn 23, flying his way through. ERS will no doubt now be in hot lap mode as he opens up that DRS, making our way now down towards turn 1. And of course, it's a limited amount of ERS they get to use. Yes, that yellow bar you can see on that steering wheel there is how much ERS they've got to use. However, they are limited by how much they are allowed to use, aren't they, Justin?
Yeah, exactly right. It's all part of the strategy, the 200-mile-an-hour game of chess that these guys are playing when they do battle with one another. It's not just about setting lap times. That is a big part of it, no doubt about it. Nobody's going to dispute that quick lap times are probably the most important thing out of all of it. Getting very close to the barrier, a little too close to the barrier if you ask me. Is Jake here, one of only 2 drivers yet to get a time on the board. Jan Fehler, the other one, as we dip below 10 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. But yeah, it's just all part of the strategy that goes into it. It's not just the lines you take, but it's how you treat the tires, how you manage the battery, all of that kind of stuff when you come into the pits. It is 25% distance races, so it is going to be a one-stop strategy for everybody. At least that's the plan. If you stop twice, then you're probably in for a bad time. But there is still strategy involved there too. Which tires do you start on if you're outside the top 10? Which tires do you start on if qualifying was wet? When do you come into the pits, though, is the main thing. And how you take care of those tires. Can you do an overcut? Can you do an undercut? And they got to do all of this in their heads. These guys don't have a race engineer. They don't have the luxury of a race engineer like many of the Pro Series drivers do. But of course, that's a bit of carbon fiber being shed by the Racing Point at the exit of the final corner. But that is a 133.2 on the board. Jan Fehler did actually put in a time as well. He's up to 12.
Yeah, leaving his mark is Jake Wills on that turn 23. Well, he won't be the first, I can assure you. He will not be the last. But 8.5 minutes to go then. Idaho is still on the top of the table. Sipos in second with Vallejo in 3rd place. And lots of drivers out there on their outlaps at the moment. If you can't see anything by their name, it means they're on some sort of lap that's not their outlap, and they are out on track. So you can safely assume that they could be on some sort of flying lap. Here's Pablo Hoglar making his way now down in towards that heavy braking zone of turn 11. The quick left-hander of turn 12 comes at you so quickly you don't realize it's a corner. You're still turning out of the corner from turn 11, now making our way in towards 13 there in that Alpha Tauri, and getting it nice and fine there with the racing line, and of course making our way through this high-speed S section here. You really don't have a chance to blink. You've got to get into a rhythm at this point in the lap, because if you think about any of these corners, Justin, you might find yourself in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, it's just relentless, that final sector, just the way that it comes at you. As Kevin puts in a 32.0, is Pablo going to be the first to dip into the 131s? He is not, but he does get into the 132.2s, improves himself to just 0.005 of a second off of Patrick Sipos. So that is a very good time, and you can see he's really taking care of these tires right now, just in case these are the tires that he ends up having to start the race on. So you can see he's being very, very gentle through the corners, but also staying nicely out of the way of those who are on a hot lap or trying to get onto a hot lap nice and quickly. Oh, there we go. Ruben Vallejo becomes the first to dip into the 131s.
Yep, and he gets his time on the board there as he tries to get himself at the top of that table, that 31.907 from Vallejo, and then Idawu 131.935. And just looking at those sector times from our point of view, it looks pretty evenly matched between the top two right now, Justin. Not much to separate them, and that's really reflected in that lap time that they've set there. Sven Zerner making his way across the line, currently in 8th place, 32.3 as he makes his way in through turn 1, then through that long double right-hander, if you like, of turns 2, and then through turn 3 as he try and make the car bite into the corner through turn 4, then through turn 5. Well, that was very, very close to the wall there on his right-hand side. He came right up and close and personal with that. Was almost flirting with the walls there, but that's what you need to do to get the most out of this track.
Yeah, as Alex Albon said, you got to make it look good, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They are taking that seriously out here. Back on board with Sven Zerner, again one of the more senior sort of drivers in the field, who's been around for quite a while. Still sitting in the top 10 and yet to put in his second time though, so he's going to be looking to improve here. I believe he was in the top 5 actually. Previously, so he's probably going to be looking to find at least a 10th or 2, I would imagine, maybe getting into the 132.1s, maybe into the 131s potentially. Napadovsky in the Williams also out there. He's on an out lap at the moment, so he's going to be looking to improve his time, currently just outside the top 10.
Yeah, and he has got plenty of time to improve. Just over 5 minutes to go. It is Vallejo, though, who is on top of the standings with that 31.9. Here comes Napadovsky round the final corner across the start-finish line to start a new flying lap in the car, making his way now down towards turn 1. I believe that was Sven Zerner, who's just completed a lap there. 32.0 puts him onto the second row of the grid.
Yeah, he wasn't looking for a top 5. He was looking for a top 3, apparently, with that time. Very competitive time from Sven Zerner. I think even if he doesn't set a third and final lap time, that's going to put him in a good position for the race, which means, of course, that he can really throw caution to the wind on his final attempt, because, yeah, that's a really solid one. Oh, Napadovsky very, very wide coming out of turn 7, getting very close to the barrier. I wonder if he is going to back off on this lap, or if he's going to head straight back into the pits potentially, because that did not look like the racing line that I would take, certainly through turn 7. But yeah, making his way down towards that heavy braking zone at turn 11, where we saw plenty of action and expect to see even more action as he gets right down into third gear. Yeah, I'm thinking he's going to be heading back into the pits with 4 minutes to go, because if he tries to do a lap after this one, yeah, that's not going to give him enough time. He's going to end up ruining those tires. Jake W, though, in the Racing Point, currently last, and by quite some margin, but that's probably not a representative time. I'd expect a huge improvement from him.
Yeah, and remember, he did clout the wall on the outside going in through the final corner, so that won't have helped him too much going in towards that start-finish line. But Jake Will's now making his way down that long, well, you'd call it a straight if there wasn't this turn 10 right in the middle of it, that flying right-hander. It's full throttle through there, but you've got to make sure you don't scrub off too much speed turning right to make the corner. In through turn 11, then we go through turn 12 and onwards then towards that braking zone of turn 13 before you're met with that flying S section. Only person in the 33s right now, but as you said, Justin, that was a little bit of a misrepresentative lap time, getting the tail happy there on the exit of 13, but he carries on through now this snaking section there where it's no point going through the quarter numbers because they come at you faster than you can count them, or at least faster than I can count them. Now making our way towards turn 22 before we make our way towards that final corner. It's caught to wheels out before making his way through that final corner. He stays and flirts with it this time around though, crosses the line, 32.9 from Wills there. So the entire field is separated by just under, I should say, 1 second. In fact, 0.997 seconds separate this entire field.
That is perfect. Yeah, he did improve by quite some margin. He found 4/10 or thereabouts, but unfortunately, still just over or just under a tenth adrift of Jan Fehler in 15th position. But he's got enough time. Yeah, he's got enough time to get back out there and set another lap. I would think, especially if he cuts a few corners, which they can do. Especially when you consider how many cars are in the pits. But that is all about to change. We're about to hit the 2 minutes remaining mark in qualifying. It's about 92 seconds, 93 seconds for a lap. So you can expect this track is about to become a busy old place.
It is indeed, as drivers just try and get out there and make sure they get a lap time on the board and a competitive lap time, a more competitive lap time. If that's even a real thing, I think some drivers will be holding back and seeing what the track is like. There is that element of track evolution, so the track, in theory, gets better and better. The more cars that drive on it, the more rubber that's laid down, the faster the track becomes, and so you can try and get a faster lap time on the board. This is Napadovsky here, and I think that's Idawu trying to fight over track position. Now, of course, around a street circuit, track position and space to the car ahead is crucial.
It really is. You do not want to be behind a car coming into Sector 3, the corners that they're about to go into now. Yeah, I think we're about to see the Mercedes of Idawu just back off a little bit here through this section because he wants to make sure he takes care of these tires. He wants to make sure he has enough gap to Napadovsky. Especially if, you can see where they are clear at the moment. There's about 6/10 between the two of them. So, that's just another 6/10 that he wants to give between himself and Napadovsky, essentially, to ensure that he's not catching him, especially at the end of the lap. And again, if you're pretty close to the car in front through sectors 1 and 2, then you're going to be even closer come sector 3 just because of that slipstream effect. But here we go. You can see Josh slowing right down through the penultimate corner, really just letting it go through that final corner. And this is, again, I've been watching Josh for a lot of years. This is one of the best drivers in all of the F1 games, and he is going to be on it for this lap.
He is indeed. He's only got the one chance to try and get himself onto that pole position, that front of the start here, but Vallejo is in his way at the moment with that 31.907. Idawu's fastest lap time so far, a 31.935. So it's the finest of margins. You've got Zerner out there as well on an outlap. Fantastic shot here of this roundabout section. It's almost like you've taken a wrong turn somewhere. You've got to go back down that long straight now. Checker flag should be out on the start-finish line. So making our way now down through turn 10 and then towards that heavy braking zone of turn number 11. Idawu now has got to make sure that he doesn't take too much speed out of this corner through turn 10. So easy to do it, but now making our way towards 11. Picking out your braking spot here. He looks like he got that. He absolutely nailed that one. Now through that slight left-hander of turn 12. Onwards we go then towards turn 13. Again, looking at the left-hand side, picking out your braking point about 60 meters before the corner. But Idawu, that's how confident he is on the brakes now, making our way through this snaking S section where you've got to hope that the rear wing plants the rear of the car back down and make sure you don't get any lift off oversteer whatsoever. Now making our way through turn 21 and onwards towards turn 22, using those curves to try and open up the track as much as possible. Here comes Idawu then around the final corner, onwards now towards that start finish line. What's this going to be? It's going to be provisional pole with a 31.830. Great lap time from Idawu. Can anybody come close to that?
I'm going to say yes. I'm very interested to see what these guys are going to do. We got some more time. Accurate now going up into 6th, but it gets pushed down to 7th, though. Alessio taking that 3rd place position. Patrick can't quite beat him, though. They both set a 31.9. Here's Jan Fehler. He crosses the line. He doesn't improve. That's going to be the end of his session. Kevin now goes 2nd, quickest to 131.9, less than a 10th off of Josh's time. I think still a couple more drivers still out there, though.
Yeah, just a couple more drivers to complete their lap, including Sven Zerner. He's just come across the line. 6th place for him. Here comes Atte Karpanainen, who goes 5th fastest then. 31.945 from the Finnish driver as he puts it onto the 3rd row of the grid. We've still got Nicolas Matteo and Bente Sabakogni to finish off their lap times. Everybody else has either taken the checker flag or has found their way back into the pit lane. And Nicolas Matteo, that didn't look like a quick line through that final corner, and he will have to settle for 10th place. So we're only waiting then for Bente Sabakogni to make his way towards the line. The Hungarian has made his way into the pits then. So that is confirmed then. Josh Idowu will be your pole sitter for this first race on PC F1 Challengers here in Vietnam on the Hanoi Street Circuit. A 31.8. Great lap time. And Kevin Balash getting in that final lap time in the session for himself, getting that front row start for him. Great lap from Balash, but Idowu on pole.
Impressive stuff from Kevin. Again, I know Josh quite well. I was expecting big things from him, but that is a great time from Kevin.
Yeah, look at that. Look how close it is. Again, the top 4 separated by 1/10 of a second. You can just see the top 14 separated by just over half a second. But it is Idowu on pole position then from Balash and Vallejo. De Capua is in 4th place. Kalpanainen in 5th. Sipos in 6th. Zerner in 7th. Sabakogni in 8th. Rietveld in 9th. And Matteo rounding out the top 10. And then you've got Knurler, Hoglar, Nabadovsky, Jan Fehler as well in that top 14 position. You've also got Jake Wills, who struggled in this session. I say struggled, it's such a harsh word to say when they're all quicker than you can ever be. He finds himself, unfortunately, at the bottom of the table, 32.9. He was on a good lap time. He set his personal best through the first sector, and it just all went wrong for him in that second sector somewhere out there, and he decided to abandon the lap time in the end. But we make our way here onto the grid, and it's, well, overcast is the best way to describe that one.
Yeah, it's a bit cloudy, I would say, but yeah, not a lot of time before we go racing here. Again, no formation lap this year for the Challengers, so we're going to be heading straight into it here in about 20 seconds. But yeah, I'm not surprised Josh got pole. It was a pretty small margin, a lot of drivers in the 0.9s, so I think he's going to have his hands full, especially with, you know, that DRS you get on the rundown towards turn 11.
Well, here we go then. We're moments away then from the Vietnamese Grand Prix here in Challengers for this F1 Esports Series first race on the PC. We're making our way on towards that grid now, counting up to the start of this race. It is 5 red lights. We're racing in Hanoi, and what are the starts like? Idowu gets a good launch off the line. So too does that Haas of De Capua. Now making our way now in towards turn 1, trying to find our way through now. Idowu will lead them in towards that first turn. Now making our way through turns 2 and 3. De Capua, what a start from the Italian. He's got up the inside in towards turns 2 and 3. He now takes over 2nd place ahead of Balash there. Kalpanainen tries to stick a nose up the inside. No way through for him. Sipos is in a bit of trouble there. We've got Matteo, who's fallen all the way down the order there in 16th place now. He's had a troubled start. Zerner, meanwhile, is going side by side with, I think that's Rietveld, now making our way in towards turns 5, 6, 7, and 8. Making our way through Sipos again up the inside of Rietveld, now making our way through that roundabout section. Onwards we go now through turns 9 and now onto this little back straight now. All trying to find that desperate bit of some sort of slipstream, some sort of hole in the air created by the car in front to try and keep up as we make our way now down towards turn 11. What a start though from Alessio De Capua, up 2 positions. He started this race in 4th. He's now in 2nd place.
Fantastic start, and we've seen how difficult it is to make up those positions at this circuit, so fantastic job to get himself into that position, and he's hanging on to the back of Josh as well, which is really impressive. We've seen how fast Idowu is, so extremely quick, but Alessio doing a great job of keeping up with him. He really just needs to keep up with him and, you know, really use that ERS, put the load through the tires, make sure he's on the back of that Mercedes when the DRS gets activated.
Yeah, and there is De Capua up 2 positions from his starting position, and the Italian is absolutely flying out there. Idowu crosses the line first, and of course sets the fastest lap time in doing so as we start the 2nd lap of this race then. It's Idowu in the lead, De Capua in 2nd, Balash in 3rd with Kalpanainen in 4th, Zerner 5th, Sipos in 6th, Rietveld in 7th, Sabakogni in 8th, Knurler in 9th, and Hoglar rounding out the top 10. Amaro, Napadovsky, Fehler, Wills, Matteo, and Vallejo all rounding off the rest of those positions. But But looking at the start then, of course, the top 10 in that qualifying session had to start on the tyre they set their fastest lap time in qualifying. Everyone outside of the top 10 got to start on a free ranger tyre, and that man in 12th place, Napadovsky, has gone for the hard tyres. How big of a strategy could that be? We haven't really seen that sort of strategy attempted so far.
Yeah, he's trying some. He's in new territory. We haven't actually seen that. I think we've seen the hards so far this week, but it has been the vast majority of tires have been the mediums and the softs. Unsurprising there. But yeah, very interesting to see from Napadovsky. He's not putting in the absolute best of sector times. That's to be expected, but he is going to be able to go quite long and still have quite a bit of life on those tires. So we'll see as he gets closer towards the end. But the thing is, he's going to be stopping. When were they stopping before? Lap 6 and 7 and 8? Yeah, about 7, I think, was when we saw most people who did the alternate strategy going onto the softs at the end of the race. So I'm not sure how beneficial that's going to be for him, but we'll see.
We will have to see. And again, it's a strategy we haven't seen so far in this Challengers so far here at Vietnam, to go onto the hard tyres at the start of the race as well. So we'll have to see how that goes out for Oleg Napadovsky. He's currently in 12th place though, holding off Jan Vela ahead of him, and also of Nicolas Mateos. But yeah, we'll have to keep one eye on that. We'll have to keep another eye on this battle here, because Idawu can't quite get away from De Capua at this moment in time. DRS is now online. That little flap in the rear wing opens up on the third lap, so long as you're 1 second behind the car ahead, to give you that extra little bit of speed there. Mateo then makes a move on Fela as we make our way up towards turn 6 here, and he's got the move done then. So the McLaren up a position as we make our way in towards this roundabout section, and Jan Fela goes down to 14th. Nicolas Mateo up to 13th. It's his turn now to have a go at Oleg Napadovsky on the hard tyres ahead.
Yeah, especially because Napadovsky has now fallen out of the DRS range of Thomas Amoros, so he's definitely going to be struggling now. It's unfortunate that that happened to him just as the DRS was being activated, but that's going to make him easy pickings for Nicolas Mateo. The McLaren just slips right by, easy stuff for him, no drama. And you can see actually the Williams just wiggling a little bit as he gets on the throttle coming out of that turn 11 hairpin. So yeah, the hard's not really working at the moment. As these laps tick by, he will get closer to pace to the medium runners. But Mateo is not one of the medium runners, actually. He's on the softs.
Yes, he is indeed. So the soft tyre delta obviously will fall away quicker, much quicker than the hard tyre delta will, come back to bite him at the end. We've got Nicolas Mateo, who's come into the pit at the end of lap number 3. So the Spaniard had enough of those soft tyres. We're expecting him to go onto the medium tyres, which should get him to the end of this race. We'll have to keep an update on you for that one, but he is one of the first in. On go a set of medium tyres for Mateo, and he will make his way back out onto circuit. So 11 to go then, 11 laps on medium tyres. We've seen that done before, Justin.
Yeah, we've seen that. That's not out of this world. He's probably not going to get an undercut though. We've seen, going onto the medium tires from the softs, that it's just not much of a pace difference going from the old softs to the new mediums. So it's very difficult to do an undercut. I don't think it's going to necessarily work out for him in that regard, but there's still plenty of racing still to go. So I mean, he can make it work, but I don't think he's going to get an undercut with that early of a pit. What we saw more often was actually the overcut working, people who took care of their softs and then unleashed the final potential of those, as Jan Fehler is going to find a way past the hard tire shodden Williams car with the use of some DRS side by side into the braking zone, actually, though, so it wasn't exactly easy. Jake W is going to try to take advantage of that as well, see if he can put the moves on the Williams and relegate Napadovsky down to 14th position, but no, can't quite find a way by, which means he has to stay behind through the worst part of the track to have to be behind a Williams on hard tires.
Yeah, and I really, it's an interesting strategy. We haven't seen it before, but why not? Throw something at the wall. He started outside of the top 10. Maybe he was thinking, I need a different strategy completely to get some points scored on the board. We've got a load of cars into the pit lane now as they're shuffling all the way through. We've got Kalpa 9 and Sipos, Rietveld, and I believe Idawu is also into the pits as well as they now come flying down in towards turn 1. Now the exit of pit lane here, it rejoins you round the outside at turn 3, but you're much quicker than the cars making their way through here. Have to say though, still in the pit lane right now as they'll make their way out at some point in this one, and Idawu is rejoined behind Kalpanainen, that looks like on the standing. So Kalpanainen has really made that pit stop work.
Now that's very interesting. I assume Idowu has been held up in the pits. Yeah, I mean, look at that. He's almost outside of the 1 second range. He is closing that in now, though. I think that's really gotten him going. So he's pushing hard now. But let's see. I'm very interested to see what happens with Decapua, who now has the lead of the race. I want to see if he has managed to take care of those tires. He might be able to do the overcut here again. I think Idowu, especially because he's now stuck behind that Haas, I think this could be a real opportunity for Alessio here.
It really could, couldn't it? As he now makes his way through, he's being chased down by, we're riding on board with the Hungarian in Kevin Balázs as he's trying to find a way past, but they're all coming into the pits now to Capua. We've got Balázs coming in. Does Zerner come in? Yes, he does. How about Sabo Konye? He does as well. Knurler is on the medium tyres, so we expect him to inherit the lead of this race, at least for now, whilst he tries to make those medium tyres run. But we've seen here that this alternate strategy really can put you right amongst the quick guys at the end of the race.
It really can. It really can. And just for the viewers at home, that was the final soft runners coming into the pits. So the only person in the pits on softs at the moment is Vallejo down at the back, but that's he's not really in competition for the points and stuff as it stands right now. So that is the last of the soft runners in. Everybody else is on the mediums, except of course Napadovsky.
Yes, Napadovsky's still in 6th place. There he is. He's trying to chase down Jake Wills, who's got his way past in that racing point, making a way now up towards turn 6. And, well, you have to say, it's a bold strategy. We're seeing it right now. He's now behind all of those that are now on the medium tyres. So that's really to be expected with the pace of those hard tyres around a street circuit like Hanoi. However, now he'll have to keep looking in his mirrors because Decapua is only 4.7 behind. In fact, at that point as well, Kalpanen and Balázs, Idowu as well, and Kevin Balázs has managed to find his way now past Idowu. Here is now, we've got Sipos, who's trying to find a way past Sven Zerner as we make our way now down towards turn 11. Let's see if he tries to move up the inside. Definitely thought about it though. If anything runs through those minds, it's how to get past the car ahead. Big slide on the exit of 11 there, leaving some rubber behind as he makes his way towards turn 13. Looks nice, but we'll have lost him a little time.
And I've only just noticed that not only did Decapua jump Idowu, so did VSR Kevin as well. So Kevin is ahead of Idowu. So is Ate, and so is Alessio. So he's lost 3 positions. Again, he had that absolutely terrible pit stop that lost him a position and some time. We didn't see that on camera, but we could infer it just from, sort of like a black hole. We could infer it from all the data that we had. But yeah, it seems that has really, really put him on the back foot. He's now in a net 4th position. And certainly that's going to put him under more pressure, potentially, from anybody that's running the softs towards the end as well.
Yeah, softs at the end seem to be a great strategy here. Here comes a replay. So this is Napadovsky. This is Jake Wills managing to find a way past. He went up the inside in towards turn 11. Slight bit of contact there, but Jake Wills got the power down, and you would expect all those medium tyres to have better grip out of 11 and 12. He got that move done, and he was up into 11th place. But of course, with those pit stops happening ahead, that's a move that's now happened further up the table. As we now rejoin this live action, we're watching Patrick Sipos here trying to chase down Sven Zerner, as we see here trying to find that way past. Not quite the halfway mark in this race just yet. Once that lap ticks over to lap number 8, then it will be half race distance here. We've got, that's Sven Zerner. Did he run a little bit too deep into 11 there? Because that was Sipos all over the back of him there. Couldn't get enough of his rear wing, that Renault there, but now making our way in towards turn 13. I think Zerner has to be a little bit careful because Sipos has sensed an opportunity there.
Yeah, without a doubt. There's a slightly larger gap than there was previously. It seems that Zerner just struggling ever so slightly, despite having the fresher tires over Idowu and Patrick behind as well. In fact, Zerner's got the fresher tires out of the 3 of them. So, and we've got some medium runners into the pits. Napadovsky into the pits as well too, and yeah, just looking at his lap times, he never did start to get competitive with the lap times. They were even towards the end of that stint, he was still a few tenths a lap slower than the medium runners that were ahead of him. So I don't think the hard strategy has worked out for him there. It would have made a little bit more sense if the softs were struggling at the end, if you couldn't do if you couldn't do 7 laps on the softs at the end, then the hards would make more sense. But yeah, it just seems that strategy hasn't worked out for him. Look at him way down in 15th position after that.
Yeah, and maybe he just didn't have the confidence in those medium tyres at the end of the day. Sometimes if you don't have the confidence in them, you're not going to be quick on them, full stop. So a different strategy tried, hasn't quite worked out in his favour, but now he's on some soft tyres. He'll be looking to try and get the most performance out of them possible. Here comes Kevin Balash then. He's got a good run on Atta Kauppinen as we make our way now down towards turn 11. Will Balash have a look up the inside? No, he doesn't, but gets right up and close and personal with that rear wing of Atta Kauppinen there as we make our way onwards now towards turn 13, and Jake Wills is leading this race, but I believe he is yet to stop in this race. So De Capua will be your net leader so far. Kauppinen behind him with Balash rounding up the net top 3. Idawu then fallen down to 5th place right now, will become 4th place once Wills comes into the pits, but obviously not the race he has wanted at the moment. Any way back from now, Justin?
Yeah, I would say so. He could definitely find something anyway. You know, it's not over just yet. Jake W does finally pit. He started in last position, by the way, and was running in first. And you know I love when a racing point goes from last to first. So that was always great to see. But unfortunately, that stint has come to an end, and he is now back outside of the points. But again, still more than a handful of laps still to go. So it's not over for these guys yet. It's still very, very tight as well. You can see a few gaps more than 1 second. Sven Knurler at the moment behind Sabakonyi in 9th position. He's on the soft, so as you can, yeah, there we go. We got the graphic up with the tires. You can see Sven Knurler is the leading soft runner as it stands right now. As Amoros makes his way past Mateo, that's another soft shod runner who is picking up some late race positions.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got Balash there right up ahead of us. He's closing in to Kauppinen up ahead. And Idawu has got the DRS, so he's staying in touch with these guys at the moment. But maybe he's also playing just that long waiting game of seeing what happens up ahead of them. So it is the Italian and Alessio De Capua who leads the way here. Kauppinen in 2nd and Kevin Balash in 3rd place. Idawu in 4th, Zerner in 5th, Sipos 6th, Riedfeld in 7th, with Sabo Konyi in 8th, Knurler in 9th, and Poglar rounds out that top 10 for now in this race. And look at that. I have to say, Justin, across everybody's name so far, no black and white warning flag indicating an on-track penalty. That's something we haven't seen before.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You love to see it. Again, I think this Vietnam circuit might be a little bit more forgiving just because, you know, it's walls. You don't have that runoff area where you can get track extension warnings and all of that kind of thing. But we'll have to see. I'm very interested to see come January whether we can keep up this incredible run, because I want to say this has been the cleanest opening week for F1 Esports Series Challengers of all time. It's been truly impressive to see.
Oh, it has. Absolutely. And we saw there Balash just in that final sector looking a little bit shaky. Idawu, I thought, might have had an opportunity, but in that 3rd sector, there's no way you can just get a nose up the inside, because at all that point, you're in that snaking S section. We've already seen what happens last night if you try that one, trying to run side by side with it. It doesn't quite work out, but they are both trying to reel in that Finnish driver of Kauppinen up ahead. Atta Kauppinen trying to challenge for the lead as well. So you've almost got to be on the attack to try and catch the car ahead, but you've got to have your wits about you about the car behind, because they could easily, if you make a mistake or leave the slightest opening of a gap, try and find their way through. As we've got changes of position, and I think Riedfeld has just about held on against Sipos there. Knurler is up a position. He's ahead now of Sabo Konyi, as we're riding on board with Idawu, who had the lead of this race very early on, had the pole position, down in 4th place at this moment in time. However, we've still got 5 to go, 4 and a bit if you're picky. De Capua leads from Kauppinen and Balash, Idawu and Riedfeld. That is your top 5 so far.
I don't know what was happening for 6th position there between the two Svens and Patrick and Sabo Konyi. I don't know what was going on between the 4 of them, but that was a lot of changes of position in a very short period of time. And the end result was Sven Knurler on the soft tires, moving himself up into 6th position. He's now right behind Accurate for a top 5. It looks like, yeah, he's probably going to get that, I would assume. And then it's only a couple of seconds to this guy who we're on board with now, who's involved in the battle for the lead. I think Knurler could potentially be a dark horse here towards the end of the race. I mean, yeah, we still have just under 4 laps of racing to go, and he's going quick.
He is at this moment in time, but we've already seen here, Vietnam is not an easy place to overtake, even if you're on, quote-unquote, better tyres. He's on those soft tyres, is Knurler. He's right behind Rietveld there. Meanwhile, Idawu has got a good run out of turn 9, which translates into a good run down towards turn 11. Maybe for Idawu, is this an opportunity to try and go and move down the inside of Balash? No, I think he's got his wits about him there. More wits than me, for sure, as he stays behind Balash for now. Just realises that's not quite the opportunity he was waiting for, but he's getting closer and closer and closer.
This is intense stuff. I mean, we're not seeing a lot of side-by-side, but that's because these guys don't want to risk it. So that's the balancing act that they're having to deal with. They want to show everybody, and I think, yeah, this is where we're going to see what happened for 6th position. This is exactly what I was talking about, and I thought that something like that may have happened, actually. That was Sven Zerner going for a bit of a spin, thanks to a little bit of a tap from Patrick Sipos there in the Renault. That slowed him down. That allowed Knurler to pull up alongside as they make their way through the right-hander and in towards the S's, and he just was able to sneak his way through in that McLaren. Very opportunistic, but that's exactly what you got to do. You got to be able to spot those opportunities and grab them with both hands.
Yeah, and Sven Knurler did exactly that. He now is rewarded with 6th place in this race, as we saw even more that Zerner was trying to get a move up the inside of Savoconye as we make our way in towards that final corner. Oh, and he spun at the final corner, so that was contact between himself and Savoconye at the final corner. And yeah, so Zerner has had to do an entire lap of Hanoi with a damaged front wing. So that will not do him or his tyres any good whatsoever. We rejoin then on board with Idawu on lap number 12. We have 3 to go, 2 and a bit if you're picky. Balashir is closer than ever to Kaupanen, but doesn't want to try this move just yet. Sipos, meanwhile, is getting a move past Rietveld there. He now moves back up into 6th place, but not long left to go in this race. And can De Capua hold on?
I'm leaning towards yes, honestly, at this point. He's got the healthiest tires, himself and Kevin, in this leading quartet. They have the healthiest medium tires out of everybody. I think it said 5 laps old, about to be 6 laps old, is how their mediums are looking, which is fine. They're all fine. I don't think any of them really have to worry too much about tire life. And it's not going to be a massive pace difference, but to have 1 or 2 lap fresher tires is an advantage. And you, when you're at this level of competition, you will take any advantage you can take.
Oh, definitely. Penultimate lap of this race has been started. Then De Capua leads from Kaupanen, Balash, Idawu, and now Knurler, who finds himself now up into 5th place, only 2.2 behind Idawu. This is not over yet, but he's got to get a move on.
Yeah, those softs, like I said, I touched on that yesterday. Those softs are going to be worse and worse as these laps tick down. So he may end up catching up to this pack, but he may end up not having quite enough tire life in order to actually do anything about it, especially when you have cars ahead that are getting the DRS and the slipstream off of another car. It just makes things that little bit harder. Lovely helicopter shot as they make their way down towards the very long, flat-out section down towards turn 11. I wonder if we're going to see any moves. Idawu is very, very close to the back of VSR. Kevin, is he going to be looking for a move here? Can he even pull alongside? Does he have the top speed? It doesn't look like that he does. He's going to have to brake very, very late to try and force the maneuver. He does indeed. He gets alongside through the hairpin. They're going to be side by side down towards the right-hander, but no, he can't quite make it work. Idawu stays in 4th position, which means Knurler is probably going to continue to get closer and closer.
Yeah, and Idawu there, it just looked like a half-hearted move to start with, and he tried to commit to it, and I think that's where it slightly went a little bit too wrong for him. He didn't quite fully commit, he wasn't quite sure, then it was a late opportunity, it just didn't quite work for him. It's cost himself and Balash time, and possibly cost them both a chance to get and improve their positions.
That gap at the front, though, Ate now more than 1 second adrift of De Capua as we start the final lap. White flag is out, and he is not going to be getting DRS for the final time, which could be huge. That could allow Kevin and Idawu to overtake him. He might lose 2 positions from that error.
And I have to say, that's a huge advantage as well to Capua, because he doesn't have
Yes.
to worry about someone behind him anymore with some
Yes.
DRS. He only has to focus now on keeping it clean and keeping it away from those walls. Here's Balash then. I'm sure he won't try and move up the inside in towards turn 6. He'll be waiting to try and move down towards that heavy braking zone of turn number 11. He'll be hoping then that Idawu doesn't have the same as we now fly away through this roundabout section through turn 9 and onwards now towards turn 10. We go to Capua, 1.4 seconds ahead. Here comes Balash then. The Hungarian could try and grab second place in this race. We fly through turn 10, now onwards towards turn 11. He's in that slipstream. Where will he go? He'll go round to the outside as we make our way now down towards turn 11. Can he get that move done? No, Kalpanen's still on his inside there. They're going side by side. Through we go through turn 12. How on earth has Kalpanen done that? He's held on to second place. Not done yet though. Balash wants a move there. You can see Idawu also wanting a move in towards turn 13, but it's pretty much single file all the way through now. Unless a major moment happens for Kalpanen, he'll be able to hold on to second place in this race. Well, fantastic defending, at least from Kalpanen. Balash could not find a way through. He had to go round the long way round, and there was just simply no way through. But De Capua is moments away now from coming across the line. The Italian is going to win here on the streets of Hanoi. Kalpanen in second, Balash third, Idawu in fourth place. Meanwhile then, Ventus Abokoni can't find a way past Sipos there as they all come across the line. Knurler then does finish in fifth place, Amaro in 8th there, Riedveld in 9th, and Matteo finishing out the top 10 as we just have the last few cars now making their way across the line. Well, Alessio De Capua, take a bow. That was a fantastic race and a fantastic strategy, and the Italian has taken the win here in the first round of F1 Esports Challengers here on the PC. What a race!
Impressive stuff. Really, really good stuff from De Capua. Yeah, I have to say, that was a great, great drive from him. Unfortunate for Accurate, who dropped from, I think, 5th to 9th in the space of just a couple of laps right at the end of the race. I don't know if it was just a lack of tires that at the end that you know, or maybe it was some front wing damage that he picked up. You know, it's very easy to do. You clip that outside barrier coming out of 8 and through 9 and stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure what caused it, but Accurate, I remember, was in 5th position, and Sven Knurler was the one that was catching him towards the end there. He made quick work of him, and then Accurate just continued to drop down the field all the way to 9th. That's got to be really frustrating after running in the top 5 for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. But here are your official, unofficial results then. It's De Capua who finishes out on top. Kalpanen in second, Balash in third, Idawu in fourth, Knurler in fifth, Sipos in sixth, Sabo Konyi in seventh, with Amaro in eighth, also picked up the in-game driver of the day. Riedveld in ninth, and Matteo rounding out the top 10. It's Hoglar in 11th place, Napadovsky, who started on those hard tyres, could only manage 12th there, Failer in 13th, Wills in 14th, Sven Zerner in 15th. They also grabbed the fastest lap of the race there with Ruben Vallejo. I don't believe had a fair shot in this race, unfortunately. However, what that does mean for Sven Zerner now is that because he grabbed the fastest lap of the race, there is no fastest lap bonus point, I believe, because you only have to finish in the top 10 with the fastest lap in order to get that bonus point. But I have to say, what that race lacked in sort of racecraft, at least with the top 3, it more than made up with the fact that they had to keep their concentration levels so high.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really tight between all of them. I mean, almost nothing between them. And you're right, Vallejo did not get the perfect race, not even close to the perfect race. So I'm just really excited about the next one because, you know, he'll be involved as well, too. So we could have a 5-way battle for the lead coming up in Shanghai here in just a little bit. And yeah, don't go anywhere because the Hanoi race is over, but we still have another one to do in China.
We do indeed. On the Shanghai International Circuit, it'll be a one-shot qualifying followed by a 25% race, and it's thrown all sorts of weather at us, has China. But before we move on to China, let's talk a bit about Vietnam. Let's unpack that one because a lot happened in that one. We had the likes of Thomas Amara, the Frenchman there, finishing in 8th place. He started 15th in that race, climbed up 7 positions, and was awarded the in-game driver of the day. Justin, would you agree with that award?
I think I got to give it to De Capua actually on that one. I don't like giving driver of the day to the person that won the race, but I think I have to on this one because, yeah, he took advantage. He did the overcut, which I predicted. Thank you. He did the overcut. He made it work, which you can do in Hanoi. He must have just been saving a little bit of tires. You know, I'm willing to bet that Idawu is not going to be happy. He's probably going to be disappointed on social media, probably about that pit stop. I don't know what would have led to it. I don't know if, you know, if you pick up a little bit of wing damage just before coming in and you end up having to replace the wing, that can lose you some time, cause you to lose a position. But through that pit stop phase, he lost 3 positions essentially. He came in as the leader and came out in 4th, or a net 4th. So that's got to be really, really frustrating. But again, he's not new. He's not a rookie. So he's going to be one of these guys that knows, you know, damage limitation. I got double-digit points. I got 12 points for my 4th place finish. I got pole. Plenty of positives to take away. So I would imagine Josh is going to be feeling pretty good after that one, but at the same time, upset about that pit stop.
And De Capua got a fantastic start. I mean, he started that race in 4th, got a fantastic launch off the line, got 2nd place going in towards turns 2 and 3. And I think that really summed up what could have been what was a fantastic race for him, because everything for him went right. He nailed the start, he nailed the pit stop, and he nailed everything else.
Yeah, fantastic race. I don't think he could have done it any better. He even broke the DRS gap behind when he needed to at the end of the race. I think he saw an opportunity. I think there was a mistake behind, and that's what allowed that 1 second gap to emerge in the closing laps of the race there. But I think he took advantage. He said, "Oh, that gap's like 9.5 tenths. Time for me to, you know, push like heck." And that's exactly what he did. He built that gap, and he just eliminated himself from that battle. He said, "You guys do you, I'm gonna go do me and win the race." And that's exactly what he did. And I think that's why he's probably my driver of the day. That was really impressive stuff. What a way to kick things off for his season.
We have to talk about as well the man who finished in 5th place, who was Sven Knurler. I mean, he started outside the top 10, put on those medium tyres, got onto the softs at the end, took advantage of a little bit of a scrap battle up ahead of him, but my goodness, did he make that work or not?
Yeah, that's a tough one to do. It's not super easy, especially around Vietnam, especially when you encounter a DRS train in front of you, where you have a lot of people just slipstreaming each other. It makes things even more difficult, especially because it's such low speed corners going into and out of the overtaking locations. So, you know, having soft tires doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to be able to easily make an overtake into turn 11. You can brake a little bit later, of course, but yeah, it was very, very difficult. So yeah, to get that top 5 that's a huge achievement, and that's the kind of thing that teams notice.
Oh, definitely, and that's the whole point. You know, you could win the races, but if a race isn't quite going your way, if you didn't qualify where you thought or maybe hoped to qualify, if you can show that turn of pace, if you can show that you're not willing to give up, not willing to throw in the towel that easily, teams will stand up and notice. I mean, Zerner as well, as we've already mentioned, he's an experienced driver, didn't have a great race, but still, at the end of the race, put on a set of soft tyres, set the fastest lap of the race. That just sets a precedent, doesn't it? To keep going, even when the chips and the cards are stacked against you, just to go out there and get the fastest lap so no one else can get it.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. And oftentimes F1 esports can be even more unpredictable than real life F1. So
yeah, possible, yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, you definitely got to keep going. You got to keep pushing. Again, there are times where I can understand somebody retiring and stuff like that. There's certainly a case to be made for some of those, but yeah, when you could, you know, who knows what could happen? You could have a huge incident, and especially when you have a narrow circuit like that, it's very easy to get caught up in an incident up ahead of you.
So easy, especially on a street circuit where there's not much to do. If you've got a car ahead of you that's spinning out and you need to take evasive action, when there's walls either side of you, yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world to avoid. A couple of drivers as well that had decent races. I thought there, you know, Kalpanen had a really good race as well. I may have mispronounced his name slightly during that race in my excitement. I do apologise to Atta, but second place for him, up 3 positions from where he started. A solid start for the Finnish driver. Yeah,
that's another solid start. Another person who can, come away from that first race feeling really good, going into Shanghai with a little bit of momentum, a little bit of confidence, just knowing that you've got what it takes to go up against these guys, and really, again, nobody on any of the platforms has why is that person there? Every single one of them has proven, I think, even if you just look at the qualifying times, that they deserve to be here. And especially as the season goes and we see wet sessions, or we see very specific tracks that someone can excel at, such as Hanoi. I think that was one of those circuits where you can have a one-off kind of person who's, for some reason, really, really quick around there, much quicker than around the traditional circuits. So, you get those kind of question marks and those surprises, which, I mean, that's part of the best part about sim racing, to be totally honest, about racing in general.
Now let's talk a little bit about Oleg Napadovsky. I'm sure he won some parts there by going onto the hard tyres, but it just didn't quite work out for him today.
So I would have done the opposite. You know what I would have done? I was thinking about this a little in the back of my mind while that race was going on. If I were Napadovsky, I would have gone for a fresh set of softs. And rather than be the only person on a fresh set of hards at the beginning of the race, be the only person on a fresh set of softs and do the overcut. So, some people on the softs were doing 5 laps, do 6 laps on the softs, be extremely quick, make up positions early in the race. And I think that would have worked really, really well, especially if you're in 11th. I think a fresh set of softs could go a long way, actually, especially if you take care of them and you get the best out of them, so that at the end of the stint, you can push hard and maybe overcut a couple of people who are going on to the mediums, people who started on a used set of softs. So, yeah, for Napadovsky, I don't think the hards was the right choice. I respect the gamble. It's always good to try something different if you're in that situation. You don't want to gamble from the lead of the race, of course. You want to play it safe. So yeah, I respect that. But I think, actually, now that we've done all the races in Hanoi, I can say my advice as a former race engineer for one time, that I think I would have tried a fresh set of softs. I think it could have worked pretty well in Hanoi.
Yeah, so if you're Oleg Napadovsky and you want to hop in your time machine and try that strategy that Justin just tried,
that's right.
But yeah, so we now get excited for the next race. One-shot qualifying, Chinese.
The last of the week.
The last of the week before Christmas, and then we have to wait a whole month before we see any racing again. So hopefully this will be a cracker, absolutely, as we take you now to this Shanghai International Circuit for the second round. One-shot qualifying and another 25% race on the cards. And we have seen a little bit of weather here at the Chinese Grand Prix, but for the drivers, so far, it's only been in qualifying.
That's right. We saw it threaten rain a little bit in the race, but it never actually did open up and dump on us. So, it ended up being dry for the entirety of the race. I would love to see a mixed conditions race, personally. I love where you get to see that transition from wet to dry, or vice versa.
Yeah, 5.4 kilometers. We're about to take you to this Shanghai International Circuit. Plenty of undulation, and let's take you on a hot lap. You'll like this one.
Hi, Kimi Räikkönen, Alfa Romeo Racing Orlen. And I'm going to take you around the lap in Shanghai. Yeah, obviously not that long straight, and the first 2 corners are very difficult. The first corner very long and hard to get it right. You need to carry speed, and then it tightens a lot. So get the front biting, and then the next left-hander again similar. It's very tight, and then it opens up. So you need to have a good start, because you can lose or gain a lot of lap time. Then it's a decent straight with little kink and hard braking to the hairpin that are usually pretty decent, and then coming over that little hill to the left-right fast corners. The right one, it's fast in the entry, and then you need to slow down in the middle to keep the line for the next left-hander, because it's very easy to lock the front on the entry on the double left-handers. After that little straight, then again tricky braking and easy to lock up and run a little bit wide, because it's need to get a good line to get a good exit on this long back straight, and it's all about getting good momentum out of the first part of that long corner to that straight to make sure you can either overtake or defending in the race. And then second last corner, to the long straight. It's heartbreaking and pretty tight hairpin that it's kind of opens up in the end. So when you go to the last corner, that is surprisingly fast how tight the corner is, that you can really push when it's roughly 100 meters to the finish line.
A nice cool lap there from the Iceman as we now take you very soon, very shortly, onto one-shot qualifying. And the drivers will have to do that again, Justin, but I've only got one shot to do it. Only one chance to nail this lap.
Yeah, it's it's new. Again, this is new for the 2021 F1 Esports Series Challengers with this one-shot qualifying. It's a different sort of approach that we have for it. And I have to say, I like it so far. We've only seen it done twice this week. We're about to see it for the third time. But it has really made things very, very interesting. It adds an incredible amount of pressure, as if these guys weren't dealing with enough pressure already.
Oh, absolutely. And we saw at the very first turn of one-shot qualifying for the PS4 drivers, it was absolutely chucking it down. And it really did shake up that grid. We didn't know who was going to come out on top in that one. So many strategies were opened up with that wet qualifying session. If we get something like that again, Justin, which shakes up this entire field, well, I mean, get the popcorn.
Yeah, I mean, Idawu had that rough pit stop, and you could see that meant he finished in fourth. just from a rough pit stop. So it'll be really interesting to see what some water does to the field. But one thing I can tell you for sure, one thing that's always stuck out in my mind is Idawu's drive in Belgium at Spa 1 year in F1 Esports. One of the most incredible fightbacks through the field on intermediate tires after a difficult start that I've ever seen in my entire career. So yeah, I would imagine a number of, especially if his competitors have seen that race, they will be hoping for nothing but dry conditions for the entire time, because they don't want to see Josh on the wets.
Yeah, absolutely. As we get ready, get ourselves hyped. Not that we need to get ourselves hyped, of course. We are seeing some great action here on PC, but we are just waiting, just on the edge of our seats right now, ready for this qualifying session to start. If I'm feeling like this in the commentary box, Justin, I have no idea what the drivers are feeling like right now. What could possibly be going through their heads with this high-pressure scenario of only a one-shot qualifying?
I'm not. I never, got to this level of racing, but I mean, I got nervous just from league races. Just from racing against some friends, some buddies and stuff. That stuff gets me super nervous, which is why I am not cut out for this sort of thing. I get the Christian Horner leg bounce, if you're familiar with that, which is not good for throttle control. No, it's not good at all.
I get that, but I get it on the brake pedal, so that's equally worse. I think that might be worse, actually.
It might be, actually.
It might be. I don't know. Throttle or pedal? Yeah. No, I don't know. We'll let chat figure that one out. But obviously, Alessio Di Capua will be wanting to make it back-to-back wins. But we've already seen so far, even on PS4 and Xbox, how difficult it is to be consistently at the pointy end of this field.
Yeah, it's really, really tricky. I would be shocked if we saw Alessio Di Capua pick up a second win. I'm not saying he's not capable. Clearly, he's capable after that unbelievable performance in Hanoi. That was really, really impressive stuff that he put on. He's certainly in contention for the win. I would say every one of these drivers is in contention for the win. But because every driver is in contention, it just makes it that much harder for Capua to repeat. Certainly, I think he's going to be looking to do what the other championship leaders on the other two platforms after this week's racing have done, which is to just finish consistently well. You really want a solid result. It was Gil on the PS4 who had the win but didn't score any points in Hanoi, and as a result he's not leading the championship. So that's exactly what's going to be going through the mind of Alessio Di Capua. He's going to be looking for, I would say, double-digit points, top 5, same as what Timon did, actually. I think Timon came home in 5th in the end after winning in Hanoi. He was 5th in China. And yeah, he's looking great in the championship standings.
He is, and this is a championship, of course, that if you do win, it's fantastic because it means that you get that gap up. But the point is, top 6 get a chance to go to the pro exhibition, and they can show off to the potential suitors, to the potential teams they could be driving for, give it one last chance to show them what you're made of. But the first place they'll look is right here. How you dealt with some adversity, how you dealt with strategy, and in general, did you show your full potential when you had the opportunity to? And that's what so many of these drivers will be looking to make sure that they show off to those teams. I'm so looking forward to this, Justin. We've already seen two fantastic races here at China. One by a rain-affected qualifying, the other one by outright pace. And, oh, that's a lovely screen to see, isn't it? Qualifying is about to start. So let's get ourselves on towards that track. And obviously with that one-shot qualifying, bathed in sunlight here at the Shanghai International Circuit. I'm really looking forward to this. Just a quick one from you, Justin. Is there anyone in particular you're expecting to be at that pointy end of the field?
Yeah, De Capua, Idawu, Vallejo especially has something to prove after a difficult race in Hanoi. I would say Vallejo is going to be very, very motivated. We do have a couple of penalties to go over, by the way. We've heard from the stewards just while we were chatting. We can go over those after qualifying, though, because we're about to get underway.
We are indeed, and as by the left-hand side, if you've seen a one-shot qualifying before, that is a total standing shake-up there as we follow Napadovsky, who makes his way now in through that tightening turns 1 and 2, tightening radius corner, really testing the limits of grip that you've got on the car. Downhill in towards turn 3, very easy to lock up the tyres, and then watch the rear end on the exit of 4. You can easily spin up those tyres. Now going into turn 5, that's the end of sector 1, braking hard now in towards turn 6, riding on board now with Napadovsky as he tries to keep that back end under control. This time he's on soft tyres, so at least we'll see the full power now as we make our way through turn 7, then through turn 8, the full amount of grip possible on these tyres being used to their absolute limits. Now in towards turn 9, using that curve on the right hand side on the entry to try and open up the corner as much as possible. Now through turn 10, quick left-hander before you make your way to the end of the second sector, braking hard now in towards 11. Apexes as you go uphill, so be careful with that one. It can really offset the car if you're not careful. Flying our way now through turns 12 and 13, down the 1.2 kilometer straight towards the next braking zone at turn 14. Expect the overtakes to happen here after a long DRS zone, after a long way on that throttle pedal, a long time keeping your steering wheel straight. This is where the overtaking opportunity could happen. We're watching Sven Zerner here, who's making his way around the final corner. Is he going to be the man on pole position, making his way through that final corner towards the start-finish line? Who's going to get it? It's Matteo who gets it by a whisker on the line. Nicolas Matteo, the Spaniard, is on pole position for the Chinese Grand Prix. And Zerner, it just looked like he made a slight mistake on entry into that final corner, and it's cost him a chance to get on that pole position. But a chance, 1/1000th of a second. It does not get any closer than that. Nicolas Matteo on pole position, Sven Zerner in second place, Vallejo rounding off the top 3, De Capua in 4th, Kalpanen in 5th place, Hoglar in 6th, Balash 7th, Knurler in 8th, Fehler in 9th, Benza Sabo-Kondi rounding out the top 10. That's the closest qualifying we've seen so far.
Holy cow. A 1,000th of a second. That is and in fact, as he was coming up to the line, I was thinking, when you have one-shot qualifying, if the times are exact, how do they decide who gets pole? Because they would have done it at the exact same time. It's not like regular qualifying where one car does it before the other. I have no idea how. Does it go to the nearest 1,000? I don't know. It's never happened before.
It's never happened before. Why did you put that in my head? Now
exactly.
I'm going to have a sleepless night now, Justin, trying to figure out how they'd try and figure that one out. But just a quick one then. Obviously, Justin, take us through the penalties from that last race.
Oh, that's right. We got a 3-second time penalty for Patrick Sipos for causing an avoidable contact on Sven Zerner, and a 3-second penalty for Benzo Sabakanye for denying another vehicle adequate racing room. And they're going to drop to 8th and 9th positions, respectively, in that race at Hanoi.
So it will, of course, give you those confirmed lineups and those confirmed standings at the end of this race once the stewards are happy with those results. But we're moments away then from the Chinese Grand Prix here in F1 Esports Challengers. Race number 2 on PC is coming up as we count up to the start of this race. It is 5 red lights. And And we're racing in Shanghai. What are the starts like? It's a good start from Matteo, but it's a good start as well from Zerner. As Zerner has to try and move over to the right-hand side. He's got Capua right behind him. He's had a good launch again, going in towards turns 2, and now down the hill we go in towards that snaking section. Through turn 3 we go. Zerner's still got that second place. Capua has to go the long way round to try and find a way past Vallejo, who is starting this race. Fantastic to see as we now found our way in towards turn 5, now towards turn 6. Capua up the inside of Vallejo, and he's got the move done. Kalpanen also gets the move done on Balash in 5th place. Hoglar in 7th, Failer in 8th, Knurler in 9th, and Rietveld is rounding out the top 10 for now, but Hoglar is trying to find his way through. It's all getting a little bit hairy behind this pack, though, as we make our way through turns 7, 8, and 9. Now onwards we go towards turn 10. Everybody, though, has made it through. We've got an AlphaTauri slightly off the track, and I think that was Napadovsky in the background there as we pile our way now in towards turn 11, making our way now through turn 12 and 13 before we make our way on towards that long straight. And Idawu, though, has dropped all the way down the order. He's in 12th place right now. This is going to be his race where he needs to be on the ball as quickly as possible. He's got Sabo Konyi right in front of him trying to use some slipstream. Of course, DRS is not online right now. There's Jeffrey Rietveld who's trying to find a way past. That's Sven Knurler right up ahead of him. They're going 3 wide ahead of us, are they? No, that's Rietveld who has to back out of it. There you can see Idawu trying to find a move up the inside of the Hungarian in Sabo Konyi. Couldn't find that move in towards turn 14. Knurler is up ahead of Pablo Hoglar as we make our way through 16. They're now running side by side down the start-finish straight towards turn 1. Hoglar has got his nose ahead, but I think he's on the outside going through turn 1, and he's got that move done. Moves back ahead of Knurler. What a clean start. What a competitive start too.
Yeah, Accurate trying to squeeze through as well around the outside at turn 3. That'll give him the inside line for turn 6 if he can actually hang it and stay alongside him. Still side by side with Sven Knurler, I think, as they get into the braking zone now for turn 6. Who's going to come out on top? Accurate is. So Accurate and Idawu are the 2 drivers who started outside the top 10 who went for a fresh set of softs. I don't know if they were listening to me when I said that after the race in Hanoi, but they both started from outside the top 10 on a brand new set of soft compound tires. So Accurate is on softs just like the cars ahead of him, but they're just slightly fresher softs. Same for Idawu. He's up a couple of positions from his starting position of 14th, so he's up into 12th. Had a terrible qualifying, 2.2 seconds off the pace, some sort of massive mistake. He's another driver that I'm going to be looking to social media for an explanation after this race is over.
Yeah, absolutely. We're riding on board then with Sven Knurler as he's currently in 10th place. Of course, DRS not online. It's activated on the 3rd lap of the race, which we haven't quite got to yet. But Matteo is leading the way. Then Zerner in second. De Capua trying to continue his great form so far, currently in 3rd place. Vallejo is currently 4th then, as we see then. I think that's Jan Fehler who's coming into the pits then very early on in this race at the end of lap 2, but there you see DRS is now online, so that can be used to try and aid overtaking, especially down that long back straight, that long 1.2 kilometer back straight heading towards turn 14. That now becomes a prime opportunity to make an overtake stick.
De Capua as well, by the way, 2 out of 2 races with positions gained on the opening lap, which I will continue to harp on being an impressive feat when you have a field as close as this and as competitive as this. It is seriously impressive to gain any sort of positions, especially 2 out of 2 races, and especially at the pointy end like that. So Alessio De Capua, again, making a name for himself. Fantastic start. He's up into 3rd. He's setting himself up for success here. He's in a position where he can try to make up those 2 positions ahead of him, get into the race lead during the pit stop phase. Is it going to be an undercut? Is it going to be an overcut? We'll have to wait to see for that, but he's in a great position.
So far, so good for him then. Meanwhile, Zerner here is right on the back of Matteo. And of course, Zerner had a nightmare of a Vietnamese Grand Prix. He's having a belter of a Chinese Grand Prix so far with that DRS. He's side by side with Matteo as we make our way now down towards turn 14. It's all about Zerner finding that braking spot, and he's got it absolutely spot on there. Is there a chance for Matteo to try and get a little bit of a cut back there? No, he can't. Not quite. Couldn't quite get the power down. And actually, after all that, Zerner has come into the pits pits, and following him is a whole train of cars coming into the pits. You've got Kalpanen, Balash, Hoglar, Rietveld, Knurler. You've also got the likes of their standings are moving faster than I can actually see. Sado Konyi is also into the pits as well. We're seeing a car trying to go up the inside. That's the Ferrari there. I think it's of Amaro there trying to make a move on Idowu as we make our way through, and he has got the move done then. So either Amaro has defended really well from Idowu, or Idowu is trying to get his way past and hasn't quite found that way through just yet. But now we see then, in fact, Idowu right now on those soft tires, he's got to try and make them work. DRS is now online, Justin. He's got to try and get through this move and get through this field as quickly as possible. Everyone ahead of him now is really running on those medium tires.
And he's just lost another position. He's not making up positions. He's losing positions. He's got both end plates on his front wing, so no major damage that I can see anyway. I know sometimes it's difficult to see if there is wing damage, but usually the end plates are the first things to go. So the fact that both end plates are intact on the car tells me that he doesn't have any major aerodynamic damage. So it's very, very strange to me. Again, he was also hugely off the pace in qualifying, was Idowu, and you can see the way he's falling back. I don't know what's going on with Josh Idowu, but I think it's probably a hardware issue, not in the game, but maybe with his wheel, his pedals, something like that, because the way he's falling back on a fresh set of softs is crazy. He should be up there with De Capua, Matteo Vallejo. He should be pressuring those types at this point, this far into the race on fresh softs. He's coming into the pits. I wonder if this is to retire.
I'm not so sure, but he now makes his way in towards that pit lane. He's stopping for the line, so that's a good sign at least, but he now makes his way down the pit lane, so for some reason it's not quite clicking for that Mercedes driver. Meanwhile then, Sipos is right on the back of Napadovsky. Napadovsky this time opting for the medium tyres as we now make our way through turn 4, and you can see they're trying now to defend from Patrick Sipos. Down we go in towards turn 6. No way through for the Renault so far, but he does leave his braking very late, doesn't he there? Amaro then in 4th place with Jake Wills in 5th at this moment in time. All of them on the medium tyres so far, apart from our race leader in De Capua. He stayed out on a set of soft tyres.
Yep, still out there on the softs. He's got a pretty sizable gap. We're on lap 5, so I would expect him to come in. But this explains how he was able to overcut. And again, he's doing it again here. He's attempting the overcut. I wonder if he's kept enough life in these tires. This circuit is a little bit more punishing. When you have a corner like this, where you're just putting the throttle on as the corner opens up, you're just putting a lot of stress through the tires. Turn 1 as well. You're just turning the wheel so violently for turn 1 and at such high speed. This circuit can be really, really punishing. Again, there are minor differences in terms of the performance of the tires between the platforms as well, so that could explain it as well. He's just, these guys are dealing with a little bit more or less tire wear, but he is into the pits, and I'm very interested to see where De Capua is going to come out relative to Sven Zerner, Nicolas Matteo, and Ruben Vallejo.
We're about to find out as he's currently in the pit lane so far. What tyres does he go onto? It should be the medium tyres that he will change onto, which he does. So where will he now rejoin? Will Sven Zerner take that net lead of the race? Kalpanen sets the fastest lap of the race, makes his intentions clear. There is De Capua, who's rejoined in a little bit of that train. He's rejoined ahead of Kalpanen, but behind Vallejo. He's now rejoined in 8th place when he was on that podium. Now he's in that sort of net 4th place if you take away those medium runners that haven't stopped yet.
Yeah, unfortunately, the overcut has not worked at this time. He does have the benefit of having, freshest tires, but, I mean, so do Matteo and Vallejo. So, I mean, it's really not going to be a huge benefit for him. Yeah, I would say it's going to be difficult to move up. He's going to have to hope for some sort of mistake or something like that, or he's going to have to put in the absolute drive of his life, because, again, it is just so close. The margins between these drivers are so fine that it just makes it so hard to try and separate yourself from everybody else without the benefit of a little bit of luck on your side or a little bit of luck on somebody, or bad luck on somebody else's side. So yeah, it just makes things a little bit different. But we're on board with Matteo, having a look at Matteo, who is currently in that net 2nd position behind Sven Zerner, who is in 5th position as it stands right now. But again, we're still waiting for the top 4 to come into the pits. Probably going to be a little bit, though. I'm going to say maybe lap 8 or 9, I think, is when we're going to expect to see them in.
I think you're absolutely spot on there. It's trying to make those medium tyres work, but also realising that those soft tyres do work on a lighter fuel load here as we start this 7th lap of the race. Not quite half race distance just yet, but we're approaching that very shortly. Sipos is in the lead though, Napadovsky second, Amaro third, Wills in fourth, but they're all yet to stop. There's Zerner in 5th place, Matteo in 6th, Vallejo in 7th, De Capua 8th, Kalpanen in 9th, and Fela rounding out the top 10. And it was a tough race for Fela at Vietnam, but he's currently in the points right now.
He's in the points. He's, you know, in this train as well too, behind essentially the train that is behind Sven Zerner. So, you know, he's kind of towards the back of this at the moment, but he's in the points. He's got older tires compared to the cars around him. Again, it's not a massive difference, but you know, at this level, again, any sort of difference can you know, determine where you're going to finish in the race. So we're rapidly approaching halfway distance in the final race of this month, actually. I can't believe how quickly this has actually flown by. But we are in the final race of this month. And this is race 2 of the day, race 6 of the week. And Nicholas Matteo doesn't look like he's going to be getting by. He's about 6/10 back as they come onto this DRS straight. So probably hanging back for the meantime, but maybe not De Capua.
De Capua here, he's looking for it, isn't he? And Vallejo thinks about defending the right-hand side. That's going to have the Italian of De Capua trying to go the long way around in towards 14, but Vallejo has that one covered, managing to hold firm. He defended late there, but of course you are allowed to make that one move to try and defend your position, then a move back to the racing line. That is allowed, but De Capua means business right now. He's just set the fastest lap of the race in so far as he wants to try and get past the Spaniard in Vallejo at this moment in time. Half distance reached in this race, half the race to go, of course, that means. So we get to see this battle all develop, and Idawu has retired from the race. I do believe, yeah, he's pitted in and then retired the car. So, yeah, if I think there could have been a problem on his end. In fact, I think about it now, drivers work so hard to find the perfect setup, to find the perfect amount of aero, to find the perfect amount of suspension, what they need, how the car needs to be set up. Could it be a case that that setup was never loaded for Josh?
Potentially. I mean, there's a number of things that could explain it. Again, I am going to be looking on social media for an explanation, so I'll try to make sure that I retweet it for everyone that follows me. But yeah, that's really, really unfortunate for Josh. Again, I've been commentating on him for a lot of years. I'm not, you know, I don't want him to win over anybody else or anything like that. I just have huge respect for him. But you know, that again, that's because I've been commentating on him for so long. For a lot of these guys, this is the first time I'm seeing them, but already I'm hugely impressed. So, you know, these are the guys that I might be talking about in just a couple of years' time, and just saying, you know, how fantastic they are as well, because this has been probably the best 3 grids for challengers that I have ever seen for PS4, Xbox, and PC. Just absolutely stacked. Got some drivers in the pits, though.
Yes, we have indeed, and that's Sipos, that's Amaro, and we've also got Wills in the pits. They're going onto the soft tyres. They'll be looking to try and get that alternate strategy and make it pay off for them in this race. So that means then Napadovsky is the leader of this race, but he is yet to stop us. Pablo Hoglar also into the pits to retire the car. So we are now down to 14 runners in this race, as we see riding on board over the shoulder of the Spaniard of Vallejo as he tries to close in on his compatriot in Nicholas Matteo, as we are now down to those 14th runners. But Napadovsky here seems to love a bit of a strategy that sort of surprises you, isn't it? He's still running on those medium tyres. Maybe he thinks that this overcut will work, and the less time he spends on that soft tyre, the less wear it gets. But that means the less time you have to make sure that those tyres do work and catch you up back to the field.
Yeah, maybe he just really wants to just push like heck on those soft tires, and just really doesn't want to be taking care of them in any way whatsoever. Or maybe he just wants to hear his name said out loud a lot on the broadcast.
I think waiting for one thing, Justin. Napadovsky leads this race. There you are.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there you go.
But yes, that's true. He is leading this race. But as you were saying, Justin, he now comes into the pit lane on that little bit of an overcut strategy. He'll go onto the soft tyres. No doubt he'll be very quick towards the end of this race. Younger tyres than cars around him for sure, but will he have enough time to make up that time he loses in the pit lane?
I don't think so. I don't think it's quite going to work. We'll have to see. I mean, he's already dropped down to 11th. I assume he's going to drop all the way down to 14th position. We'll have to see exactly where that Williams feeds out. But I don't think there's going to be enough laps left. And just the nature of the circuit, I don't think is beneficial enough. And look at that. Look at the gaps for all the soft runners. Nobody is getting DRS, which is doing nobody any favors. Patrick Sipos is just about to get within DRS range of Sven Knurler. That's going to put him up into a points-paying position, which is great news for him. But for the rest of the guys that are running those soft tires, none of them are getting any sort of DRS or anything. It means they're in clean air, but they're in clean air to cars ahead that are also on soft tires, which does no benefit for them whatsoever. So, yeah, unfortunately for them, I think they're all in a little bit of no man's land. They could be looking at lower points-paying positions. I think that's what Patrick Sipos is probably looking at here. Yeah, outside the top 5, but in the points. As for the other 3 that are on softs now, I think, yeah, they're going to be hard-pressed to be in the points.
Here comes De Capua looking for that podium position. Will he find a way past? But no, Vallejo makes it very clear he's not having that inside line, and De Capua has to hold station in 4th place. I think Vallejo has made that perfectly clear. You're not going for inside move at 14. I've got that line covered.
It's impressive, actually, the way that he's doing that. He's doing the exact same move. And usually with racing drivers, oh no! The first time penalty for the PC side, the very first one, after 24 laps of racing, we finally get a time penalty, and it is for Sven Knurler, which is great news for Amoros and for Napadovsky as well, and potentially for Jake W.
Yeah, absolutely, and that could be a huge disaster for Knurler there, but he's just got to keep his focus now and just try and keep it on the track, try and keep that pace up as much as possible. We're watching the top 4 here then. Zerner, Matteo, Vallejo and De Capua. Any one of them could win this one, that is for sure. Zerner will be looking for his first points finish of this season after having that incident at Vietnam, so it means he's on 0 points so far in this race. He did get the fastest lap of the race but didn't finish in the top 10 last time out. That means he doesn't get that bonus point you get for the fastest lap of the race. However, he's been pretty quick so far, because with 4 laps to go, 3 and a bit if you're picky, it is Zerner who leads the way from Matteo, Vallejo and De Capua. Kalpanen just outside of that DRS zone, but he is closing in on De Capua.
He is indeed. He is indeed. It's just over a second, as you said. Jan Fehler up to 6th position, by the way. I had never noticed. Oh, that is an incredible dive bomb.
That really was, and De Capua was not hanging around for that one. He got really close there, did the Italian. He's got the move done. He's into 3rd place, and now we'll look to try and chase down Matteo there. And Vallejo, it just looked like there he defended what looked like a little bit too late, because De Capua was already up the inside. That's 2 laps he was sat behind that Red Bull, knowing and studying what he was doing and just trying to beat him to that inside line, and he's done it.
Impressive. Really, really impressive stuff. We didn't see the entire maneuver, but the fact that De Capua was able to muscle his way into 3rd, hugely, hugely impressive. Alessio De Capua is impressing the hell out of me here today. This is really, really impressive stuff. Patrick Sipos as well, by the way. He's already up to 8th position now. That he's gaining these positions faster than I expected. So I said outside the top 5. Maybe he's certainly trying to prove me wrong anyway.
He definitely is. He definitely is. And if anyone can prove you wrong, it'll be him. Zerner then, meanwhile, still leads this race. Let's have a look at the replay then. So this is going to be De Capua with his move on Vallejo. And he just literally sent it up the inside. Fantastic move there. Late as he possibly could. Late as he dared on those brakes. No remorse. No guilt. He's got the position up into 3rd place. He will go back live with the action. Now, will Vallejo have a chance to make a move back into 14? And look at that, De Capua instantly defending the inside line. Then the Red Bull looking again for the inside move, but he can't quite find it there. He realizes there's not enough space. Meanwhile, we've got a battle for the lead heating up here between Zerner and Matteo as they make their way through 16. Matteo has got a good run out of 14. He's right on the back of Zerner as we make our way across the line here. Lap 13 of this race. 2 laps to go. And I have to be honest with you, any one of this top 4 could win this race. It really is that close.
It is. And I am absolutely loving this battle between De Capua and Vallejo. Vallejo did a great job with the defending. He was able to keep Alessio behind despite, moves like that Alessio put on for quite some time. And even after being overtaken, he's trying things. You can see him kind of probing the waters into that turn 14, into that hairpin. He's starting to lose a little bit of time to Alessio. Again, De Capua does have one lap fresher tires compared to the Red Bull who we're on board with. So maybe that's going to play a role on the final lap here potentially. Again, it certainly seems like after making that overtake, he's starting to pull away a little bit, feeling just that little bit of extra comfort. He'll get the DRS and the slipstream off of Matteo here, which should help him a little bit to defend against Vallejo. Ate as well behind in 5th position, now within DRS range, less than 3/4 of a second behind this Red Bull.
Yeah, of course, and he's going to have to look and see if he can try and take advantage of that DRS zone as well. As we look at the rear wing of the Capua right now, Vallejo is right behind him, and I'm pretty sure, in fact, I'm 100% sure that Vallejo will want that position back. Meanwhile, there's a battle for the lead happening just up ahead as Matteo got a really good run again out of turn 14, but he's got nowhere to put the car because Zerner is driving the widest AlphaTauri Shanghai has ever seen. We start the final lap of this race. Matteo right onto the rear wing. He's going to have to go the long way round in towards turn 1. He'll cut back now to try and get in the inside of turn 2. There's a little bit of contact between them there. Matteo gets alongside Zerner now as we make our way through turn 3. Keep it easy now, guys, as we make our way through because De Capua is right behind. If he senses an opportunity, he is going to take it. We've already seen that. Matteo switching left, right, left. He chooses the outside this time, in towards turn 6, and Zerner this time just about holds on. But look at De Capua, just waiting to see what happens. He's got the popcorn ready to take advantage, but now Zerner, we make our way through turn 7, now flying through turn 8 as we make our way now towards this final couple of corners. Through turn 9 we go, and Matteo here, well, we see he's got a really good exit, a really good launch out of turn 14, but it narrows down so much on the run up towards turn 15 and 16 there that there isn't the move on, unfortunately. So Matteo has got to get 13 and 12 right. That's going to be the important thing. Oh, he's got a little bit of oversteer there. What could turn into an attack for the lead could be a defense for second place because De Capua is closing in on him. Less than 0.2 of a second. Look how close the Italian is here. Matteo defends the inside line, cuts off that line. De Capua will have to go the long way round in towards the final corner. And so you can see then Matteo runs slightly deep. De Capua's side by side as we make our way towards the final corner. De Capua, the long way round through the final corner. No way through. Matteo holds on. Sven Zerner will cross the line to take the checkered flag. And across the line, Vallejo is on the where De Capua was defending so hard. I wonder that could go to the stewards for that one. However, De Capua holds on to 3rd place, Vallejo in 4th, Kalpanen in 5th, Fehler in 6th place, Sipos in 7th, Balash in 8th, Rietveld in 9th, and Amaro rounding off the top 10. Wow. Sven Zerner, no points in the first race, gets the win here in China. He is your second race winner here in F1 Esports Challengers here on PC. Well, the last 2 laps, well, take over, Justin. I'm utterly speechless. I'm utterly speechless. So much action happened in those last 10 kilometers alone, let alone the rest of the race.
That was some of the best racing I have ever seen in my entire life. That's about as good as it gets. That's about as good as it gets. I really, really enjoyed that. I was just sitting there listening to you, honestly. I'm glad you didn't try to throw it to me because I was not prepared. I was just sitting there soaking it in. I was just one of the people at home enjoying the racing in that moment because that was absolutely incredible. From Sven Zerner, from Matteo, from De Capua, from Vallejo, finishing the race on the grass, kicking up the dirt, using all of the track and then some to try and get those extra 3 points. Unbelievable. That is, like I said, that's about as good as it gets for me personally. That's some of the best racing I've ever seen.
Well, we now head to the official, unofficial results. Sven Zerner gets the win and his first lot of points in Challengers. Matteo in 2nd place, De Capua 3rd, Vallejo in 4th, Kalpanen in 5th, Fehler in 6th place, Sipos in 7th, Balash 8th, Rietveld in 9th, and Amaro rounding off the top 10. It's Napadovsky in 11th place, Sabokony in 12th, Wills in 13th. Knurler was the fastest driver, or the fastest lap holder anyway, so again, no one in the top 10 getting a chance to score a bonus point. He was the last of the finishers. Hoglar and Idawu not making the checkered flag. I don't think that's the end of the story here tonight. I think that race to the line between Tekapo and Vallejo, I wouldn't be surprised if that goes to the stewards there, Justin.
Yeah, we might be waiting a little bit for the final results potentially. So we will do our best to keep you guys entertained in the meantime. But that is 6 races with 6 different winners. 2012 F1 season, eat your heart out.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the Chinese Grand Prix, it's the last time we see it now in Challengers, at least for this series. However, it certainly left its mark, didn't it, Justin? What a fantastic race. Have to say as well, going through that order there, Patrick Sipos from the back of the grid to 7th place. What a drive from the Hungarian.
Yeah. That is incredible stuff. Really, really impressive. Oh, man. I mean, there's so much about that race really, really impressed me. But yeah, for the thing that sticks out for me and will continue to stick out are those battles in the final couple of laps for the leading positions. That was magical stuff. I feel honored to have been able to have seen that. That was fantastic.
Well, there you go then. Those are your results then, official results of round 1. De Capua won the race ahead of Kalpeden, Kevin Balash in 3rd, Idawu in 4th place, Knurler in 5th, Amaro 6th, Riedfeld in 7th place, Sipos in 8th, Sabokonyi in 9th, and Matteo rounding off that top 10. Looking through the rest of the order then, Hoglar, Napadovsky, Failer, Will, Zerner, and Vallejo rounding off the rest of that grid there, or at least the results at the first round at Hanoi. 2 great races, Justin. We have to just step aside and truly just unpack what we saw tonight. I mean, there was a little bit of everything, wasn't there? Drama, controversy, overtakes, and a lot of racing.
That was, yeah, like I said, that was some of the best racing I've ever seen. Really, really, really enjoyed that a lot. And that was without Idawu. In fact, we were robbed of an extra person in the battle in Hanoi and in Shanghai. You know, again, these battles would have been even more intense if not for, you know, the various issues that happened. Again, I'm very, very interested to find out what has happened with Idawu. Something has gone wrong there. That much I think is certain. We saw his pace in qualifying in Hanoi, and then from there things just went downhill. And I don't think it's, you know, mental. I don't think he's just made a ton of mistakes. I think something wrong has happened. So I'm going to look into that after the race. But, you know, even in spite of that, we still had, again, some of the best racing I've ever seen, ever. So I can't even complain too much, really.
That was fantastic, wasn't it? Lots of action to keep us all entertained towards the end there. Jan Fehler as well, 6th place for the German. Got points in the standings now and can look to try and build on that. Well, I say next time around, but that's going to be next month. So yeah. The key for the drivers now is trying to make sure they keep up that momentum. But with a month break in between each race, Justin, how difficult can that be?
You got to keep on it. I mean, you have to practice as much or more than the, you know. I mean, how do you think you win a Pro Series championship? I'll tell you a hint. It's the same way that you win here. Lots and lots of laps. I mean, these guys are going to be spending a lot of time at those circuits and just turning a whole bunch of laps. They're going to get some help potentially as well too if these guys are in teams, you know, like VSR, CRG, the various teams that are out there. They might get some assistance from other people helping them out with setups and all of that kind of stuff. But in the end, it's going to come down to them. You know, they're the ones turning the wheel. They're the ones with the throttle control and all that stuff. So they're going to be the ones to have to put in that performance. For these guys, it will be January 28th is the next time that we see the PC side. But we will be seeing the PS4 guys, of course, January 26th, 2 days before that. And personally, I'm going to be counting the days down because after that, especially, I mean, that really was the cherry on top for us because it was such a great week of racing. And then we get to that race, the end of Shanghai PC. Sorry PS4, sorry Xbox, but those were the 2 best laps of the week.
Oh, well, there you go. That settles it then. Justin has spoken. Looking through the rest of the order as well, I mean, Kevin Balash lost a position in that race. He had a bit of a quiet one, but he was well in amongst that pack. It really could have gone much better for him, but it could have gone a lot worse, I guess.
Good results for Kevin. A little bit quieter compared to, you know, there was some real talking points in like De Capua and Sven Zerner and stuff like that. So I would say Kevin had a bit of a quieter day, but a successful quiet day is better than an unsuccessful day where you get noticed a whole bunch. Yeah. So I think, you know, he's going to be walking away from that feeling pretty good, but definitely with something to prove, and you know he's going to be pushing hard, no doubt about it, for the races come January, and just try to make that little extra step, because that's what he can tell himself. He can say, I'm almost there. It's just that one little extra step to get up to be, you know, on the broadcast and being shouted out and getting noticed and all of that kind of stuff. Because again, right now he's got results that get you noticed at the end of the season. What he wants is a result that gets you noticed right away, immediately, you know, on social media, that kind of stuff.
Definitely. Napadovsky then, let's talk about Oleg here. Different strategies in both of those races in Vietnam and China, but didn't quite work, especially at China. That little bit of an overcut, did it cost him a chance at scoring points today?
Potentially. You could look at it as him choosing bad strategies, but you could also look at it, and this is probably how he would try to sway the teams, you could look at him making a bad strategy work just regardless, you know what I mean? He went on to that strategy that shouldn't have worked, and still managed to be competitive. So that certainly, if I were him, that's what I would be trying to highlight to everybody. Like, yeah, I didn't make the best choice of strategy, but if you sign me for your team, then I won't be making the choices on strategy anyway. So, you know, think about that.
A convincing argument. You've definitely
exactly.
Definitely convinced me. Looking at again, Kalpanen, bit of a quieter race this time around, but still 5th place, solid points from him.
Yes, yeah, definitely going to be feeling pretty. That's another kind of quiet but solid result. Definitely can feel good about that. Again, certainly I would be feeling good. I would be feeling good to be, you know, within a couple seconds of their lap time for any of these guys, because this is just an unbelievably stacked grid of really strong drivers. And again, it's only been 1 week, but I think this might be the strongest grid that we have so far, which I feel terrible about if there's, you know, old drivers in the chat watching right now. It's thinking, oh, I thought I had the best grid, but sorry. Again, it just gets better every year. The bar gets raised and the drivers keep meeting it. It's really impressive.
And exceeding it as well. Yeah. I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic to see. 2 retirements in that race, Pablo Hoglar and Josh Idawu. Obviously, not the best scenario to be in this early stage. You want to be hitting the ground running at this point. But I think this is going to show us that over the next 4 months, there's still 8 races to go. They've still got plenty of time to get those points on the board, because remember, it's top 6 that make their way into that pro exhibition stage.
Yeah, well, since we've got a little bit of time here, I did go ahead and I decided to check on what Josh has said on social media, and I can tell you, he said, went to check the race weather in the menus, not realizing it's bound to the same button as go to track, and should have put the setup on first. So you were exactly right, Kieran. You 100% called that one. He just didn't have a setup, and that shows you, because yeah, he was 2 seconds off the pace, so that shows you the amount of work that these drivers put in on those setups.
Yeah, definitely, and it just shows you what a difference they make. That time and effort you spend putting in that setup really does make the difference, and I think Josh showed it out on track. We just had word from the stewards. This is why we call them, this is why I call them the official, unofficial result. They call them provisional. I don't call it that. My one's better. 3-second time penalty awarded to De Capua. So his 3rd place now changes to a 5th place, promoting Ruben Vallejo up to 3rd, and that in turn promotes Kalpanen up to 4th. So that's the standings we've got right now. De Capua, the Italian, doesn't keep his podium streak going. He will finish this race in 5th.
Still a good day for him with the win in the 5th. I mean, that's still a lot of points that he's coming home with, and we'll see exactly what that does with the championship. But yeah, I didn't see the whole incident. I just looked over to the right side of the screen, and all of a sudden I see a Red Bull and a big cloud of dust, you know? So I didn't see what led up to that moment, so I wasn't prepared to make any sort of statements. But certainly I would respect anything they say. They would have looked at it. They would have gone back and looked at it very, very closely, of course. That's why we have to wait all this time, of course, is because they're being thorough. So yeah, anything that they say, I'm gonna side with. Yeah, it probably was too aggressive, but yeah, De Capua and Vallejo were both I think, right on the limit in the best kind of way at the end at the end of that race. Maybe they're both saying not in the best kind of way. Maybe they think the other one crossed the line, kind of Vettel, Alonso, and Monza vibes. But for us, for the viewers, I mean, that's just pure entertainment.
That absolutely was. And it was an aggressive move for De Capo down in towards turn 14. And I think that's where the limit really was. You are really pushing the envelope of limits there. But at the end of that race, I think that's what the penalty has been awarded for, because the penalty is for denying another vehicle adequate racing room, which would imply that was that start-finish straight. That's what we're inferring. That's what we're implying in that one, of course. If we get more information of that, we will, of course, share that with you.
It was with the Red Bull.
Yes, that's right. So that was exactly the instant there towards that start-finish line. And so that's going to demote De Capo down to 5th place. And as we've already mentioned, Vallejo up to 3rd, Kalpanen up to 4th place, which for Kalpanen, his day just got a whole lot brighter. 4th place in that one instead of 5th. That makes him up a position on his qualifying position. So overall, a good day.
Yeah, 2 more championship points. Absolutely, we'll take it. And De Capo is going to be frustrated, I think, probably. But at the same time, I would imagine still feeling pretty good after that result today. Vallejo as well. Again, I think he would have been up at the. He would be in a much better position come the championship standings, which we're going to get soon here. But he would have been in a much better position if he hadn't had whatever happened to him in Hanoi happen. So Vallejo is definitely clearly has set himself as one of the front runners as well for this season. And it's, you know, it might end up being good in the end that Idowu has actually had the problems that he's had today, because that might make the championship a lot closer come the end. You know, because somebody else is going to have a bad day at some point later on too. So, yeah, it's going to end up all evening out when we come to round 10.
And it will make Josh remember to apply the setup before.
That's right.
And that's what
put a sticky note somewhere.
Yeah, not on the screen. That might get in the way of, you know, the actual track, but I'm sure he'll find a way. I'm sure that's a lesson he will now not forget as he progresses forward. But still 8 rounds to go for each platform, PS4, Xbox and PC. When we next go racing in January, we'll be at the Netherlands and we'll be at Austria. 2 tracks, Justin, who, you know, they're much different to Hanoi in the fact that they're purpose-built tracks. Zandvoort, pretty narrow, but still, you can get a couple of moves done. The banking at the last corner really does add to that sort of character to the track. Then it's Austria. Now, one-shot qualifying at Austria is already pressure built. So much time is won and lost just in that sort of little tail flick out at turn 3 at the top of the hill. You will say it's turn 2, Justin, but it is turn 3 officially. But a little bit of a loss at the back end there. You know, you're talking a 1/10 of a second could be between first and finishing outside of the top 10. It's going to be so close.
Such a short lap. There's YouTube videos out there of people actually getting under 1 minute at Austria. You gotta like work the system. You gotta get the right upgrades in career mode, all that kind of. You have to have like the best car ever. Or I can't remember if they actually succeeded in getting under a minute, but very close. But it's a very short lap where, as you said, one tiny mistake. And in 1 lap qualifying, that's all it takes. You know, you can go from first to last pretty quickly just by having a mistake, especially at one of those corners that takes you onto a very long straight, like at turn 1 or turn 2/3. If you have a bad corner there, you carry that bad time all the way down into the next braking zone, so it can be really detrimental. But the Netherlands is sort of similar to Hanoi because we're going to be racing there for the first time ever in F1 Esports Challengers. They've never been there before together, unless these guys have gotten together and, you know, started to practice those tracks together, but not with the full grid. Certainly they wouldn't have done it. So it's gonna have a lot of question marks. We're gonna have a lot of questions about that one. It's going to be really interesting to see. But if Hanoi is any sort of indication, then certainly I'm excited for it.
I think we all are ready to go racing again. Can we do it just now? Have we got time? We have to wait till next month.
I do.
No, we all have to wait till next month, unfortunately. But hopefully you've been enjoying the action so far. Once the results have been confirmed, the graphics have been made, we will give you those graphics and hopefully leave you with the overall championship standings at the end of the PC races here in F1 Esports Challengers. But apart from the obvious out there, you know, we know De Capua is pretty quick. We know Kalponen is one to watch, as well as Sven Zerner. We know Josh Idawu. But is there a driver that maybe you haven't seen before here in Challengers that's really taking your liking, really taking your fancy there, Justin?
Accurate caught my eye because Accurate was running really well at various points. Again, that's a driver, Jeffrey Reitfeld, who maybe won't have the results today to show how good he is, but if you were to look at a snapshot, a specific lap or something, he's looking pretty good. So maybe, you know, he's just missing a little something to just get him to that, over that final hurdle into the solid point scoring positions. Because, I mean, Accurate did well, but I think could do a lot better with just a little bit of tweaking here or there, that sort of thing. You know, he seems to have just made a minor mistake that just lost him quite a few positions towards the end of Hanoi, for example. You know, and that definitely caught my eye, no doubt about it. Kevin as well was running really, really well for both races at various points. So certainly Kevin was someone who caught my eye. Vallejo as well, even in Hanoi with that poor result, had caught my eye. Because again, clearly showing that he's got the pace to be up near the front. It's very, 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 very small gaps. We saw Idaho in Hanoi get the pole by, it was like by a tenth, a little over a tenth, I think it was. But then after him, there was like 5 drivers within less than a tenth of each other. So it's really, really tight.
Yeah, and you just said a tight qualifying session. We just have to go back, because it seemed like an age ago, to that Chinese one-shot qualifying. 1/1000th of a second.
Right.
That's amazingly close. I'm gonna get a sleepless night about how they would have actually decided if it was the exact same lap time. That's gonna actually cause me nightmares until next month. So thank you for that, Justin. But that just shows you how competitive this field is going to be for this entire season.
I wouldn't surprise me if we see that at some point. If we see somebody set identical times in one-shot qualifying, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we see that happen. Austria is a great place for that to happen, of course. It's more likely to happen the shorter the lap is, and Austria is about as short of a lap as it gets. So Austria is a fantastic opportunity, actually, for them, for that to happen. So certainly very, very possible, especially with how close it is this year. Yeah, it's gonna be incredible stuff. I'm really looking forward to that. Again, for the viewers at home, that is January 26th, 27th, and 28th are the dates for the next 2 rounds for the various 3 platforms. So mark your calendars, do whatever you got to do to make sure that you're here.
Set your alarms, do whatever you need to do to make sure you are here for when we get underway in January. I believe we do have the results coming our way very, very shortly, so we'll be able to see what the official results are for the Chinese Grand Prix. So that should give us an idea of what the overall standings are like as well as we head in towards next month, in towards January, and it gives the drivers an idea as well about who their rivals could be for this season, because I've been speaking to quite a few of the drivers leading into this one, and the common question I asked was that who would you consider your rival? Is there anyone you're really going to be comparing yourself against in this season? Funnily enough, all of them couldn't narrow it down to 1 or 2. They've basically said the entire field, because we're all here, we've got our place, we've earned our place, we're all quick. And I thought that's a pretty decent answer. No one's picking out anyone in particular. Everybody's treating each other as their own rival, as their own sort of fastest rival out there.
Yeah, and I can't say I'm too surprised by that, because these guys, I mean, it's just unbelievably close. It's so close. And these guys know that even if they have the advantage one day, it might not mean that they have the advantage the next day. And that's kind of the nature of sport, especially when you have equal cars. And of course, the cars are equal. And I don't think we've actually mentioned that so far this year. Again, if you're new at home, if you're new to all of this, it's the exact same car. They're all running the same cars. So yeah, it's not like real F1 where you might have a performance difference on the straights depending on what engine you have and that kind of stuff. No. It's exactly the same. So, and that's just part of the magic of Challengers. I did want to touch on something that I thought of since we just have a minute here. That Sven Zerner did the Giel of not scoring points in the first race, winning the second race. And then De Capua did a Timon of winning the first race and then coming in 5th for the second race. So we're seeing some parallels here. It's spooky stuff. It's spooky stuff.
There's too many coincidences going on here, isn't there?
That's right.
Well, what we have seen so far, great action, great racing, and a great sense of rivalry and competitiveness going into the next few months. I can't wait to see when we get to April and see who's going to be in the running for that top 6. Yes, it'll be great to win the Challengers, but for some drivers, they'll be looking to try and get that 5th or that 6th place spot, that final spot possible to make it into the Pro Exhibition, and that will be the most fought after position you will ever see. So I can't wait to see who is involved in that battle and seeing how far they can take it.
And it's huge to be in the draft, even if you don't get picked. And I will continue to say this: every step is a massive milestone. If somebody's made it to Challengers, that's huge. You should be super proud of yourself. Yes. No doubt about it. Even if you just missed out on Challengers, you should be, thinking about next year already. You should be thinking, what can I do to make sure that I don't miss out on Challengers 2022? Because you really, you're like almost there. So why would you not just keep pushing? You're so close. And it's going to be the same for these guys. For those that don't quite make it to the draft, you got to use that as motivation. Like, okay, I almost made it. Just got to put in that little bit of extra work for the next season, and I'll make it to the draft. For those that make it to the draft and don't get picked, same thing. You got to think about the drivers that have gone in the past. There have been drivers in the past that have not been picked that have ended up being world champions. So you can't let it get to you.
You can't let it get to you. And here we go then for the official results of round 2 for the PC races here on F1 Esports Challengers. The suspense is building, isn't it, to try and find out who these official results are going to be. But there you can see Sven Zerner does get the win then. Nicolas Matteo in 2nd place. Vallejo rounds off the podium. Kalpanen in 4th. De Capua with that penalty drops down to 5th place. Jan Vela in 6th. Sipos in 7th. Balash 8th. Riedfeld in 9th. And Amaro rounding off that top 10 of the point scorers. Of course, in both races, no fastest lap bonus points, which I don't think we've seen so far in Challengers. Napadovsky, Sabo Konyi, Wills, Knurler, Hoglar and Idawu all not scoring points in that race. We had Idawu and Hoglar not finish the race, so Knurler becomes that last person to cross the line with the checkered flag and also picked up the fastest lap of the race, just to show that he's still there, still quick, and still wants to be in that running. A frustrating day for him, at least at China, but knowing him, he will bounce back. And there you go then for the playoff series. After the first event, it is De Capua who is topping the tables, 35 points, 5 points ahead of Kalpanen. Then it's Zerner in 3rd place, Matero in 4th, Balash in 5th, Vallejo in 6th place then with that podium, Idawu in 7th, Knurler in 8th, Sipos joint with him on points in 9th place, and Amaro, consistent points in both races, gets the final points or final 10th place spot, at least on this screen, and we'll be able to see if there is anyone yet to get off the mark here in event number 1 on PC. But De Capua so far with that 5-point advantage. 10 points covers the top 3, and then you've got 20 points covering the top 7 or 8 at the moment. So it's great to see it so close already. We had a quick glimpse there, Jan Vela with 8 points there, but there were a couple of drivers who haven't got off the mark just yet. Hoglar, Napadovsky and Wills all on 0 points so far, but this is just after the first event. We've still got 4 to go, 8 races to go, still plenty of time to get some points on the board. But we see there, Justin, De Capua leads the way heading into next month.
Yeah, it's narrow. It's only 5 points ahead, 2nd place, and another 5 points down to 3rd place. And let's not forget, every single one of these drivers is capable of winning that championship. Even the drivers that didn't score a single point here today. There are 208 points on offer. So it is far from over.
It is far from over indeed, as we draw to a close of at least this month of racing action. We thank you so much for joining along and being entertained. Hopefully you were entertained by your lovely commentary team here. And of course, a big thank you to everyone behind the scenes for making this all possible. And hopefully we get to see you all again in January. And however you're spending the rest of your December, make sure you do stay safe and please do take care of yourself. From myself, Kieran McGinley, and from Justin Sutton, hopefully we will see you again in January for much more of the same. Until then, take care of yourselves. We'll see you very soon. Good night.